The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon. I hope you're all doing well. My name is Amy Siegel, and I'm joined by Tina Weissman, and we are here for the first SI2 webinar for the startup schools. Getting started.
Hi, I'm Tina Weissman, and I will be your school support specialist or strategic planning specialist or Girl Friday or whoever I need to be.
We're going to go ahead and turn off our cameras and get started. Our motto is start on time and end on time, and I've got 3:29. I think we'll be okay to start. Tina, I just want to make sure, are you seeing my the presentation screen?
Not yet.
No. Okay. Whoops. Let me see what's going on with that.
There you are.
There. Okay. Good. All right. So first, we just want to tell you a little bit about GoToWebinar. This is a tool we're going to be using all year. We have our SI2 webinars using this tool. It has some great features. One of my favorites is the little orange arrow that gets the control panel out of your way. So you can click on that to minimize and click on it again and maximize. And we have, we're going to have some time later for questions where you'll be able to unmute your microphone. I think everybody starts out muted just so that everybody can hear. There's not a lot of background noise. But later we'll unmute and have you ask questions. If any time during the presentation you have a question, there's also a little chat, or actually, I'm sorry, the questions area. You can click on questions and send us a question, and Tina keeps an eye on that. She'll either go ahead and answer your question, or she'll let me know that there's a question for the group, and we'll get started. So I guess I'll start. We could go ahead and unmute everybody and just ask, does anybody have any questions about the webinar, about how to use the GoToMeeting tool? I thought I could unmute everybody. There's a way that you can raise your hand. I don't know if you see that. If you'd like to, oh, here, I'm sorry, there's the unmute all. No, it's not. It's the mute, everybody. Sorry about that. I'm still getting used to this. This is my first year doing presentations with Tina, and I'm still getting used to the tools myself. So if you have a question, please go ahead and type that in, and we'll get your question answered one way or the other. Tina?
Okay, so without further ado, we'll get started here. As you see on our front banner here, that Sue Reynolds is the president, of course, of ASA and SI2, which is one of a couple or three initiatives that is under the ASA umbrella. Amy, who was just talking to you, is a director of programs and probably one of the most modest IT people I've ever met in my life. She is the brains behind this, all of the online system, and extremely easy to work with on things, so you're in good hands with her. As I said, I'm your strategic planning specialist, and all together we make up the American Student Achievement Institute. We're small, we're education-based, and we love to work, so that's us. For today's topics, first of all, we're going to cover just kind of the idea of the grant itself, and we pretty much made our introductions. And then the overview is the school improvement process, which we refer to as the vision to action process. And we'll talk about, we use that term quite often. That's our basic go-to term. We talk about the organizational structure and the leadership support. And then, of course, we always end with tasks, which are our uses page, and then a steering team roster and task delegation. And one nice thing about this is you need never feel lost. This process is very straightforward, but it's going to be new to you. And there's nothing wrong with asking lots of questions, getting lots of direction on things. We try to be the world's most patient people, and we love this process and we very much believe in it. So never hesitate to ask questions about these things.
So, Tina,
and as you can see.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right. We kind of set these up ahead of time.
Yeah.
That's all right. I pretty well covered this. You can.
Let me go there. Sorry about that.
Okay. As you see, Sue is the president and has been involved in this for a number of years. She is the brainchild behind all of this. Does a fantastic job. Wonderful woman to work with. Then I have, for several years as well, been responsible for the SI2 steering team support and training. I am a former teacher. I think I probably still am a teacher because my husband tells me once a teacher, always a teacher. And if he hears me saying there's a teachable moment one more time, he just rolls his eyes and smiles. I'm also a former school principal. And so, and I have taught at junior colleges and as an adjunct for universities through high school through dual credit. So we try to have a good background, a good solid background, no matter what your levels are. And then, of course, Amy, who is responsible for the training and the online system. Like I said, you're going to love it. You are going to see how responsive and how user-friendly this is. And she was my strategic planning specialist when I was an administrator. And I would say she is 80% at least of the reason that I just absolutely fell hook, line, and sinker for SI2. And then David Ernst works very closely with Amy as a programmer. And then Nancy Nolting, who you may be speaking with once in a while, is our director of business.
So you are our third grantee cohort, starting SI2, your first year, coming in with a grant to fund your work with us. And we have been really excited to be able to offer the grant and get schools started with SI2. So in your grant agreement, just a little refresher, from now until June 30th, ASA will be providing your SI2 online system. That includes the school improvement process and timeline. We have many templates. We have reports, we have the steering team manual, and we have your automatically generated school improvement plan that downloads as a PDF file that you'll be able to upload to the DOE. What we try very hard to do is to make sure that you don't have to start anything from scratch. We give you meeting agendas, we give you presentations, we give you lots of tools to get you started. All of these things can be customized to meet the needs of your school, including the online system. We have some customization, and we'll show that to you a little bit later, so that even your process is customized for your school. In the reciprocity there, that's the ASA agreement. Oh, I'm sorry. We also have steering team training, videos and webinars that will be available to you every month. And we have steering team support. Tina, your strategic planning specialist, is on call for and is also available by appointment for consultation. And we found that many teams, as they're getting started, they'll make an appointment with Tina to have a phone meeting or a GoToWebinar, so that they can pick her brain and get her feedback whenever they hit a stumbling block, or if they feel like they just need another set of eyes. They just need advice. She's been through this with her school and with so many other schools. She's a very valuable resource for your team, and probably the most valuable resource we give you. She's also going to be the person who reviews your submissions and provides written feedback to you within 48 hours. And the feedback is very valuable. It helps you with the planning standards. We also make sure that we've cross-referenced with DOE, especially as the ESSA rolls out. We're keeping an eye on all of that, and we're going to make sure that your plan meets the federal and state guidelines that have been set forth to the very best of our ability, so that you don't have to worry about that. We want you to focus on planning for your school. As a byproduct, you're also going to meet all of those other requirements. So in exchange for that, we ask that you agree to convene the steering team, participate in these monthly webinars, collect data, conduct 6 steering team discussions, and send submissions and respond to feedback. And if your team disengages, if your team decides that they're just going to stop, because we've made an investment in you and making sure that we have staff available, that we have your online system set up. If your team disengages during the grant period, then you would be responsible for paying the remaining balance of the grant. So that is the grant agreement. So let's talk a little bit about ASA, the American Student Achievement Institute. We are a nonprofit, a 501c3. Sue founded ASA in 1996 and incorporated in 2000. Our mission is to raise student achievement and close achievement gaps. This is the stuff that keeps us going year in, year out. We love to see your data change. We love supporting you while you're doing that work. Our expertise is data-driven systemic change. We find that when you change, you make key changes in your school, it changes the whole system, and that's what we want to see happen. We're also versed in cultural change, how you slowly but surely change the culture of your school. Our improvement process is called Vision to Action. It is developed by educators with significant coaching, mentoring from state and national business leaders. This all came out of Sue being a school counselor who participated in a Lilly-driven program that hooked up educators with business people who were experts in change, and helped those educators bring that. And Sue, she got it, and so she ran with it and created ASA. Currently, we are supporting 300 local steering teams through the School Improvement Institute and through our other programs, Guiding All Kids and Redesigning School Counseling. And we've worked with hundreds of other groups through the years who are, have moved on and are just kind of going on their own steam now. They graduated.
Oh, you've seen what ASA is, so now we'll talk a little bit about what specifically SI2 is. Our purpose in SI2 is to help schools and communities work together. And that's one thing that we really, really stress, because so many times we know how isolated we can feel in a school. And if you're like I was, you try to bring in communities and they'll say, how much do you need? And then they look at you very blankly, which they will as you go through this process, when you say, I don't really need your dollars as much as I need your brain power. And they're not used to hearing that. And so this makes it's a wonderful way of pulling the community and the schools together, and they're working together. So we want to establish achievement goals. We want to see that achievement constantly moving in the right direction. We also want to identify the change that really needs to occur in the school and the community, both places, to reach those goals. And we all know that change is 99.9% necessary in most, pick any town, anywhere, large, small, or in between. There's always some change that needs to happen. And we don't want to just identify it. We want to implement that change, and then that will help those achievement goals come along much more smoothly. The way that we do this approach is that the SI2 schools use a vision-based, data-driven process that is called our old friend vision to action. And you will see that word used, or that term used, quite often.
As you work through vision to action, you're going to create several what we call process products. You'll create an organizational structure. You'll create a vision that is shared throughout your school and community, achievement goals. We're going to identify root causes, the things that are keeping students from reaching those achievement goals. Interventions, those are the things that we target root causes so that we can move our achievement data. And then intervention and implementation plans. We find that it's one thing to set up good interventions, but if you don't have a plan for making them happen, you're never going to see the change that you want to see. All of this is guided through the SI2 online system. Schools enter information into online template and then download reports, including your school improvement plan. So who's going to be participating? This year, your steering team will be the hub. Well, not just the hub. The steering team is really going to be doing your process this year. We feel that if the steering team can get involved and can understand the process and get things set up, then the next year they can bring in their student body and create a school improvement council. So this year, your steering team members will be the decision makers. Down the road, if you stay with us into year 2, you'll become the worker bees, and you'll be facilitating your school improvement council and your student body to get input from them and to have them make decisions so that they become the drivers. The steering team is made up of a principal, 2 teachers, a counselor, a parent who is not employed by the school, and someone from economic development in your community. Next year, when we involve the student body, we're going to ask you to involve every student in your building, and we give you tools to make that happen. We've seen some schools get very creative in how they include all of their students and give them a voice in their school improvement planning process. Your school improvement council that you'll create next year is going to consist of economic development, business, government, community foundation, higher education, service clubs, someone from your public library, the full faculty, and basically everyone who cares about your community's young people. So we get asked a lot, is SI2 a lot of work? And we'll be honest, it is a lot of work, but it's manageable. We give you lots of tools, and we're going to go through some of those today. We also give you a 6-member steering team, and if your 6-member steering team is working right, you are delegating tasks between you and giving each other support in getting the work done. And it's good work. We find that people get very excited about seeing their data move. They get very excited about getting things done in their school and not just planning for the sake of planning. So it is a lot of work, but it's good work, and we think you're gonna like doing it.
Now you're probably sitting there saying, what will I be doing as a steering team member? And believe it or not, we have that answer. As Amy said earlier, the steering team makeup is the principal, 2 teachers, and if you're middle school or high school, we do ask that one of the teachers be a math teacher, the school counselor, a parent that is not employed by the school, and an economic development rep. That can come in many, many different forms. If you kind of hit a snag on that one or any of these, just give me a call, drop me an email, and we'll talk through that. But we want it to reflect your area. That's what we're looking for. And the school improvement managers, this year only, you're the decision makers, but in years to come, like Amy said, you will be the worker bees. The characteristics of the steering team is at least one team member will be that allocator of resources with time mainly and funding as needed. One person has that real gift of credibility that others are watching, and they'll be kind of the go-to person. So as you can see, we're looking at different personalities here that we have found make up extremely useful and active steering teams. If you can find that natural leader, they don't really need any authority, but others follow. I know I had a third grade teacher in my building, and he was just that natural leader. People felt very comfortable around him. They would come to him. He set up with no authority as far as, being on this team or, top-down situation or anything else, but he was just that guy. And I know I depended upon him pretty heavily too. A natural teacher, and here again, that may not be your teacher. That may be someone else that's in your group, but they really engage and motivate people. And so, that can come from a parent, that can come from the administration. And then an authority person. And there again, doesn't necessarily have to be the principal, but that one person that can drop the hammer and say, let's get this wrapped up, let's go. Kind of the clock watcher. And then all team members, if they have a history of change making, that's the people that you really want to encourage. Or you see someone coming up through the ranks of experience as a teacher or something, and you see that, some of these people just have that gift, and they're going to be the ones that are going to be able to make that change. Okay, as far as the Indiana rules and regulations, the teacher, I'm sorry, Amy, I'm jumping ahead here.
Oh, that's okay.
We can flip to the next one. That's right. Always remember that the teacher appointments to the steering team should be made in accordance with all state and local regulations regarding teacher appointments to committees. And that, of course, is handled on a building by building basis. So we will let you take care of that.
As I mentioned, we set up our steering teams so that they really share the work. And the way we do this is by appointing each person on the steering team to a point position. And those include achievement data. That person will be in charge of entering data into the SI2 online system. Root cause data, they're going to be coordinating surveys. Both of those will be very active in January. The council discussions, this year, that person will get to practice using your steering team. Next year, they'll be working with the School Improvement Council, and that'll be February, March, April, and May. The council consensus person, they're the person who kind of goes back and makes sure that everybody's on the same page, everybody can support this. And again, practicing this year with the steering team, next year with the School Improvement Council. There's a student body point person. They're not going to be working with the student body this year, but again, that gives them an opportunity to learn the process. We'll have some tools available so that you can see what would be going on if the student body were involved, so that you can look at how that would work next year. And then the point person for intervention development, they're going to be very active in May and June. And really each of these positions, they're the person who is taking on that responsibility. They shouldn't be working in isolation, though. This is where our teams become very close and reach out to each other. And sometimes it's, can you sit with me while I enter data into the online system? I'll read off the numbers, you type them in, that kind of thing. Or help me plan out how we're going to give our surveys. Or, just in lots of ways, our steering team members really come together to help each other through the process. So the tasks every month, we're going to ask that all steering team members participate in the webinar. We do record the webinars, and if anyone has, things come up after school, we understand sometimes things come up during school that last until after school. We're aware of that. It's great if you can get at least one steering team member to watch live so that they can ask questions. But if something does happen, we do record the webinars. We do recommend very strongly that immediately following each webinar, the steering team members discuss the prompts provided during the webinar. it's just a great way to, while everything is fresh, just to get that work done. So planning some time after the webinar where you can spend together and have those discussions and do some planning, that'll save you a ton of time down the road. And then within 1 week after the webinar, individual steering team members will be performing the assigned tasks, sending submissions to ASA, and monitoring ASA's feedback and revising submissions as requested. And you may be thinking, the steering team is 6 people. Can others have a voice this year? And our answer to that is yes. It's not a requirement, but if you feel like, so that you'll have long-term buy-in, if it would be good for other people to sit in on your steering team discussions, but with no assigned responsibilities, you can invite people from local government, your community foundation, faith-based organizations, higher education, your youth service organizations, anyone interested in youth and economic development. You can add additional faculty members and additional administrators. So that is a local decision. That's up to you. Tina? I'm not sure. I think Tina's lost audio. So I am going to go ahead and talk about support you receive from ASA. We provide every month a leadership development webinar where we talk about your tasks for that month. And you're in one right now. Your December 6th webinar. We'll have your webinars on the first Wednesday of every month. And that gives you the schedule where we'll be going through the steps of the process. And then at the end of each month, your assignment for that month is due. We recommend that you, as you work, go ahead and get those in earlier, and that way Tina can give you feedback. And as we look at the process a little bit later on, you're going to see where everything builds upon, each step builds upon the step before it. So it's great to get those in, get your feedback, and then move on. And the online school management system. This is near and dear to my heart because I built it and, well, I helped build it. We have a programmer who does the heavy lifting. When you log in, this is what you'll see where it says you're currently logged in as Demo Elementary School. That'll be your school name. And we have links across the top and we have links down the side. The most important of those is the SI2 process page. And this gives you a little idea of what this looks like. Each month, we'll have a section for you. This month is getting organized, and it shows your due dates, as you can see. Next month will be collect data, and you'll see that those are due January 31st. We also provide a steering team manual. This is where we give you all those tools, and that is the third link over on the left. So we'll have the slides from this presentation in this section. We'll have your school improvement flyer, the School Improvement Institute flyer that you can download and get out to people to let them know what you're doing. And then next month you'll have manual tabs or manual links for collecting your data. Our online system also includes auto-populated achievement data tables. Everything that we can get from DOE and download and put into the system, we do it. So this is a school's, the very first part of their achievement data tables. This is the one for all students. We also disaggregate for ESSA groups having more than 10 students. So other parts of the report would have race and ethnicity. It would have lunch program status tables, tables for English as a new language. So you'll have lots and lots of data to look at. And we do try to keep your entry to a minimum, but there are going to be tables that you'll enter and things that we can't download for you. We provide an online student survey, and this is a survey that has been researched over many years and Gives you a lot of information from your students, parents, teachers, and community. And we provide analytic reports. We call them crosswalks. And there are many of these throughout the system that just kind of give you an overview of the things you've entered and making sure that they all line up. Let's see, Tina. Yeah, Tina's audio is still having problems, I think.
I'm here.
Oh, she's here. Okay, great.
Hi, Maeve. I am so sorry. We were going right along, and all of a sudden, everything just went to nothing. So, modern technology. Okay, I'm catching up here.
Well,
I guess that's me, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to say on, because I don't know that she'll say it. It sounds like she's tooting her own horn, so I'm going to do it. Your strategic planning specialist is your secret weapon. And I'm going to let her talk a bit about the services that she provides.
And I can guarantee you your secret weapon will have better audio and better technology going here. We're kind of in the midst of fussing with our local provider. It seems like we've been doing that the past few days. So hopefully things are coming to a happy ending on all of that business. So anyway, enough of that. I am a strategic planning specialist. There is no question that it's too silly. There's no question that has been asked too many times. I will be and I'm going to sound like my parents, I'll be very disappointed if you don't call me or email me with any questions you have. I am not a fan of stress. I don't like it myself, and I don't want anyone else to have it. So I have, as you can see, a 5-second rule. I want you to be sure and ask me any step of this process. And I know some of you couldn't pull your entire team together today because of time constraints and everything. If you are unable to do that, that's fine. What you will need to do is get with me and we'll set up a conference call. And if I need to shift my work schedule around a little bit, I don't mind at all. And we can have a conference call and we can go over the basics. That's why I am here. And that's what I've told schools who have been with us for many, many years. Anytime a new member comes on, this is what I do. So I am so happy to be able to work with schools. The school where I was a principal, we were one of those schools that we crossed everything we owned every time the ISTEP scores were going to come out. I didn't like living that way at all. I wanted to have data that would tell us what needed to be done, and then we could do something about it. And then along came SI2, which at that time was INSEE. And we absolutely were able to turn things around and have success and have successful students and have kids who had never really achieved before being able to achieve, because we figured out what it took for each and every student in that building. And teachers became happier, and the conversations became more professional in the workroom. And I always said that, I just wanted, when anybody got out of the car in the parking lot, I wanted them to hear this hum that they really couldn't discern until they walked into the building, and then they knew it was us. And that we were going at such a good pace in that building that there was that hum of activity and that hum of success. And through this process, we were able to achieve that. And I always laugh and say I really should be working hard at practicing for retirement, but I think I'll do this forever, just for the mere fact that it is so enjoyable to see schools finally get a chance at doing what they knew they could do all along. So please call me, email me at any time. We'll talk through your individual situations. Every school's unique. And so, situations that you confront daily may not happen to others, and it's hard to have those conversations when they're not experiencing that. But we will walk through with you every step of the way.
You might notice she's a bit passionate about this. I promise that passion works for you. So, oh yeah, Tina, that's still you.
Okay. One of the things, the ways that we communicate with each other, and if I'm being redundant here, I apologize since I was kind of finding my way back to where you're at, is through a form of submitting submissions. And I'm sure Amy went through that with you on the online system.
Not yet. We'll be doing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So this is my checklist that you're looking at right now on the screen. And so, for example, when you submit your steering team to me, and Amy will show you how to do that here in just a bit, what I will check is against this list. And I always kind of lovingly call this the best cheat sheet ever, because here again, you have the roadmap ahead of you. There's no guesswork in this. You know ahead of time exactly what you will need. We don't like playing games. We don't like that guess what I'm thinking, no, you're wrong. So you know ahead of time, and she'll show you how to look at the rubric, and you can see exactly what you need. And so this is one of the several ways that you and I will communicate, where I will check all of the planning standards against what you submitted to me. And then in the comments, I will tell you exactly if there's anything that needs to be added, anything needs to be taken away, anything that needs to be enhanced, or maybe just a little coaching tip for the next time. So this is where our way of communication on the actual VTA process page. I also give friendly reminders, which I laughingly call them my nag notes, but I prefer friendly reminder. You will get an email after, if you don't make a deadline, that's on the VTA, there again, all listed for the entire year on the VTA process page, so you can plan your calendar accordingly. If you were to miss a deadline on something, you will get a friendly reminder, as will all the members of the steering team. Will have your email addresses locked into the system. And that will remind you of what work needs to be done. I know we've had schools that have been with us for 20 years, and they still say, once in a while, I just need that friendly reminder, because we all know our plates get full. So you will get these, and sometimes you might get them twice a month, because if I see that there's going to be a little bit more work involved or something, as time goes on, I might be saying, oh, by the way, and then so don't ever get too excited by these, but just know that this is your friendly heads up on work that does need to get done to keep the process moving. We also have webinar registration. We will send you emails on that. We send updates. You all received that original grantee information where you were with your congratulatory letter that gave all the webinar registration dates and everything, and there's a direct link there, so you can just go ahead and link onto that, and you can get all of your webinar registration done. And then also the submission deadlines, like we said, that's all on the VTA process page. I may call, I may email or something if I, see that you may be getting a little bit behind. But for the most part, people are really good about staying up with the process once they get started with it, and then they see just how effective it is.
And just remember, it's all meant to be helpful. We laugh
yes,
about
absolutely. Yeah, we're not judgy.
Yes. Oh, whoops. Oh, I keep forgetting that this does this differently. So one of the things that we have, and I'll show you where to get it, you can earn professional growth points using the SI2 process. And we have a PGP log. It's linked in the manual. I'll show you where that is in just a minute. And you'll be sending that into us, and we'll get your PGPs through DOE. So about this time, we usually understand that people are feeling overwhelmed. And if you're feeling overwhelmed, you're not the first. You won't be the last. It is a lot. And but what we can tell you is that if you trust the process, and that's the mantra for us, is trust the process, that everything's going to turn out okay. If we love kids and understand global economics, raising student achievement is a no-brainer. We just make it manageable. We try to chunk everything up so that it can get done in a year without everybody having to stay up all night and get those things ready to go to DOE at the end. We've got a step-by-step process. We've delegated the tasks, and we give you tons of resources, probably the most important being Tina herself. So just trust the process. When you need us, always call, email, just let us know how we can help. So with that said, that's the big overview. We'll get into brass tacks.
Okay, this is the let's get started part. So everybody can take a deep breath and let's start looking at some deadlines here. Your steering team roster should already be pretty well set up because you've had some time to think about who will fill those positions. The convener in this case, the person who we have had as the main contact, will be the person who will submit these items, which we've been putting together passwords courtesy of all of you, and then we'll get your usernames to you probably tomorrow, right, Amy?
Yes, Tina, you'll be sending those out.
We'll do that tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so you see that what we do is we make sure that all of the deadlines are the last day of the month. So just if you know a calendar, you know it's always the last day of the month. And I did check, and 2018 is not a leap year. So we're February 28th. Your SIP uses page, that is something that will determine on the online system and show you or show us what it is that you're looking for as far as fashioning your specific plan. You'll be able to tell us if you are, for example, a DRF accountability school. We make sure that all the state guidelines and everything, or the Indiana code that you need to follow, will be put on your system, on your page. Indiana rules and regulations, of course, everybody checks that box. And then you can also go down through, and any of your kids that just aren't doing as well as you would like, based on perhaps the latest I-STEP test or your classroom performance or your Terra Novas or NWEA or whatever your choice is there of guidance for that, you can check those as well.
We'll have a look at that in detail in just a moment.
Okay, yeah, because otherwise I'm sure this makes a little sense.
Yeah.
And then your point person assignments, that's part of the steering team too. And like I said, that will determine who does what of the workers.
Yeah. So tomorrow when you get your username and with the password that you've provided to us, we'll have that set up. You're going to go to asainstitute.org/SI2, and you're under login over on the left. You're going to click on steering team. And when you do, get over to the other window. When you log in, you'll get to I timed out. Here we go. Right, so you'll be logged in and here's the welcome page. It confirms that you're logged in as your school. You're going to be going to the process page. And this is where we have your tasks lined up. So we're only worried about December this time around. We have an introduction for you to read, just a little information, just to go over things. This is the webinar, step 2. And we provide you check marks. So when you've read your introduction, when you've after you've participated in the webinar or watched it after we posted it, you can save those check marks and just keep track. Those are things we've done. As Tina was saying, the next thing you're going to do is the SIP uses. And we always give you in our table here, under enter, that's what you click on to enter something, of course. And in this case, the SIP uses. Tina was just talking about how most schools, all schools in Indiana would have the Indiana rules and regulations checked. You can check the list from DOE to see if you are in the D or F accountability grade. And if you're a Title I school-wide, if you're a TAS school or focus targeted, you can click, check those off. And then this is the area where if you have students who are experiencing an achievement gap, you can check those off. Those were originally based on AMO, the annual measurable objective, but DOE has not been updating that information on the Compass page. So what we've asked schools to do is just think about their achievement gaps in the student groups that they already have a pretty good sense that they need to address. And then we'll have some checks in the system later on to make sure that those groups are being targeted. And then we also ask you how many teachers are in the building and how many students are in the building. So that just takes numbers, whatever is appropriate for your school, and you click save. And the page refreshes, and we can go back to our SI2 process page. And so I've done this. I've entered my SIP uses, and I click submit for review. And I don't have any team members yet, so I can't select my name. And go ahead and submit though. And it says that I have submitted my item successfully. And I go back to the process page. And you see now that the status for SIP uses is submitted. So we just, now I can check that off because that's something I've done. And when Tina reviews this, the status will update from submitted. It'll become either needs revision or meets criteria. Possibly it'll become meets criteria, see comments. If Tina has some words of wisdom to share with you, usually they're just little coaching points, but it's always good to read those over. Sometimes they have some good information that you'll want. So my next step would be entering my steering team members. And again, in step 4, I'm just going to click on the enter edit icon. My roster is blank, so I need to add a new person. I'll start with myself. And getting in my information. We'll say that I am a teacher. And you are not required to fill in your home mailing address. There was a time when we had to contact folks when people didn't always have email during the summer, weren't always checking their school email. We used to have more work in the summer, and sometimes we had to mail to homes. If it's something that you would want your steering team to have, so if they needed to share anything getting into June, they might have another way to contact you if necessary, but that is up to you. And I click save, and I'm back on the main entry page, and it shows that I've been entered. And I'm ready to add a new person, and gives me a blank form. So yeah, you just go through and add all of your people. Actually, I will go ahead and add, Tina will be my other team member. I misspelled institute. And she is our principal. I'll save that. And now I have 2 people on my list. Okay. When I'm finished, I've got everybody in. I go back to the SI2 process, and I can submit my roster. And now I can say that it's me doing the submitting. And it tells me I've submitted successfully. And I go back to the process, and now I've got 2 items. In step 5, we enter the primary contact person, and that's just a choice among the people on your steering team. Go back to the process, and I'm going to submit that for review. And now I'm ready to enter our steering team positions. So we give you the 6 positions, and you're just going to check or select the person for each position. Again, you really want to divvy up those tasks and make sure each of your steering team members has been assigned to one of the responsibilities. So save that, and back to the process. I didn't finish that, so I'm not going to submit it yet because I know I'm not done. But I can look at my rubric items, so I can just make sure that everything I've done is going to meet criteria. And it's a great idea. We put that at the bottom, but it's a great idea to look at this at the beginning of each month and just get an idea of what the expectations are. So in SIP uses, we give you the planning standards, and they're all listed right there. We also make it so if you're looking this over and you want to check what you entered or check your report. So in this case, the steering team members, let's say, I'm looking at here and it's like, oh, did I make sure that I have a math teacher, or did I get everybody's email address in? I can just click on the roster and click on the report, and it gives me my report, and I can check my work. So we try to be very upfront and make sure that nothing is a surprise, so your rubric will always be listed and linked from your process as the last step. When you get feedback, each of your items will be linked, and if I click on submitted even, right now it takes me to the rubric, and I can check the status. I can see if Tina checked all my boxes and if she has any comments. Okay, so that's the online system, and we'll repeat that actually I did want to show you the manual. Your third tab is the manual tab, and we put in lots of things to help you here, worksheets and posters and samples of products so that you can see the kind of things we're looking for. Again, we don't want to make anything a secret, so it's all there. And again, we're always returning to the process page. Okay. Let me flip back over to our presentation. Tina, are you still here?
I am.
Awesome. You want to talk about resistance?
You better believe it. I won't even resist it. I'm sure this is a term that you're all familiar with on many different levels. And of course, it will be a rare occasion if you don't miss some or have run into some resistance with this. We all have. Here's some of the basic things that I'm sure you recognize very easily as well as we do that we've heard over the years. The first thing, of course, is been there, done that. It's been done. Here we go. Here's some answers on how to deal with that been there, done that idea of resistance. SI2 is a discovery process. It is not a one-size-fits-all model. As you can see, everything is done locally. It's driven by your data and by your local people, which is why your steering team is made up of local folks that are from your area. It's made up of people within your school. It's not someone coming into your school saying, do this. It's us giving you a template of what is needed by the state, by federal guidelines, by Title I, by everyone else. But at the same time, it's giving you very valuable tools to be able to actually get something done. So it is not one size fits all by any means. It gets significant steering team support. you are some pretty important folks right now in this process, because you're going to be the diplomats. You're going to be the ones that are the town criers, so to speak, to start talking about how important it is to get some good systemic change in your building. It's also a proven process. It has been proven time and time again that this works. And like I said, I'm living, breathing proof, or the building of which I represented is definitely proof that it does work. You'll also hear, we don't have time. And I know if I hear that once a day, I hear it 40 times a day, and it's not just from our people that we deal with ASA. It's every walk of life. You may not have the time, but you may want to carve out that time for this, because in the long run, it will save you time. It is a step-by-step process. It is very relegated as far as this step, and this step, and this step. You see, all the tasks are delegated. This is not a one-person-does-it-all thing. Each of you will have your responsibilities. So no one person should be just blanketed with all of this work. You have tons of resources. You are definitely not starting from scratch. We don't want you to reinvent any wheels that you don't need to. So we have all those resources. And it merges all the school improvement requirements under one umbrella. And that's probably one of the best things and the most useful things. You're not trying to piecemeal together something. You don't end up with a school improvement quilt. You end up with one product. And then, of course, you hear, well, it's just another top-down thing. You know, we're being made to do this. Here we go again. It kind of goes with the been there, done that. But this is current, and it's due to time constraint. The steering team makes the decisions this time. So it's not the principal making the decision. The principal is a member of the team. And then later in subsequent years, which we hope you'll join us for a number of years, there's a complete school improvement council that makes those decisions. And all of the teachers sit on the council along with various community members that you come up with that you know want to work with the school. So you can see you have lots of artillery there to meet with any kind of resistance problems. And it is 25 after 4, and I'm going to wrap this up with if any of you have questions, and then we'll go ahead and pop on my number, if you don't mind, Amy, and my email address while we're seeing if there are any questions.
I think this might be the first webinar where we've not had anybody type in questions.
I know. Quick learners. That's good.
Let's see if we can, we'll unmute each of you. And see if anybody has any questions or anything they'd like to say. So everybody's unmuted now. Okay. It's a lot of information. This PowerPoint presentation will be posted in the manual, and we'll also post the recorded webinar. So if you want to sit through that with any steering team members who couldn't make it today, please do. And if you have questions later, then go ahead and get a hold of Tina.
And I'm here from 8 until 2 Eastern. Unless we need to make a different time for that, and that's perfectly fine. Like I said, we'll get our schedules together and do that. Also, you can always call after hours and leave me a message. If you leave your name and your number in the school which you're affiliated with, then I'll call you back. And also, sometimes if you can leave me a convenient time for you, that I might be able best to find you. I know sometimes that's tricky, but we'll try. And then always email. So just however it works for you, I'm here.
All right. Well, we are very excited to have you, and thank you so much for being here today.
Have a good evening.